We meet again. Take you back to October 12th. Oregon, Ohio State. 5 seconds on the clock. Will Howard doesn't get down in time. The clock expires, and Oregon wins by 1. Now, the controversy from that game, do you remember? Oregon intentionally had 12 men on the field late in the game, resulting in a penalty that took time off the clock. The NCAA closed the loophole with a new rule that gives the offended team the option to reset the game clock to the time of the snap. So all of that happened, and we recreated the rule because of that. You saw Will Howard look up at the game clock, and he knew he was out of time, and Ohio State loses, and now they meet again, and they will meet on January 1st. New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl, Ohio State and Oregon in a rematch. It's the only rematch here in the quarterfinals. As you look at them from top to bottom, Texas and Arizona State in the Peach Bowl, Penn State and Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, and Notre Dame and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. We are down to the Elite Eight. CBS Sports HQ is built by the Home Depot, how doers get more done. And oh boy, this is the matchup we all wanted. Ohio State and Oregon. B-Mac, Emory Hunt here on CBS Sports HQ. And I remember watching this game with you and how crazy it was at the end and what happened with Will Howard and the clock management and all of that. And now here we are in the quarterfinals, B-Mac. The fact that we got these two teams is exciting.
No question. And I'll say this, granted, the very first game was entertaining, right? But when you look at the style in which we're seeing from either side, I'll say both teams are playing better football now than what we saw when they faced off against each other earlier in the year. And that should tell all of us we should be getting ready to see a very, very competitive ball game because both offenses are playing better. Both quarterbacks, especially Dylan Gabriel. Remember how he started the season, being turnover prone, especially in the red zone. He's been more smart with the football, clean with the football, playing efficient football. And then Will Howard had a heck of a game against Tennessee. So I can't wait to see exactly how this game plays out. But I'll tell you this much, guys. It's going to come down, of course, to the players on the football field. But which coach is going to make the timely adjustments? Which coach is going to decide to pull the trigger on that fake punt at the right opportune time? When you look at great coaches in college football, you start and you stop that conversation with who? Kirby Smart. Remember what Kirby did in the SEC championship game? That fake punt against Texas. That was a defining moment. The right time to make that decision to run that fake led to them winning the SEC title, which led to them having what? A first-round bye. So when you look at these coaches, at the end of the day, who do you believe or who do you trust in more in terms of being able to make the sound adjustments to get the best out of your players?
We saw tonight Ohio State do a good job of stopping the run. They didn't stop the run in that first matchup. Yep. Jordan James had over 115 yards, 5 yards a carry, right? 23 carries. So, and you just saw in that highlight clip, Dylan Gabriel scramble out, scamper around for a touchdown as well. That's going to be something that we're going to see. Maybe they can adjust and stop the run. We talked about how they stopped the run against Tennessee. They're going to have to do that against Oregon. On the flip side, Oregon couldn't stop these receivers from Ohio State. Emeka Buka had a fantastic game, and we know Jeremiah Smith went over 100 yards as well and a touchdown. Had an amazing catch in that game as well. So who can make the adjustments? I feel like Oregon's defense is still kind of playing the same way. We saw Penn State have some success scoring at will against them. Can they clamp down a little bit better on defense? Will be the adjustments I'm looking for Oregon, but can Ohio State stop the run against Oregon like they did tonight against Tennessee?
And one bright spot in terms of these teams facing off for the second time, the first meeting happened in Eugene. Right. Clearly an advantage for Oregon. This will be a neutral setting game. Now, granted, Oregon is closer to Pasadena, but you know the Buckeye fans will be traveling as well. So that should play more so in favor of Ohio State than the first game when all the fans, majority of that stadium was cheering for the Ducks.
All right, get this. Ohio State has not allowed a passing touchdown since Dylan Gabriel tossed 2 of them back on October 12th. That is 30 straight quarters without giving up a passing touchdown. The Ohio State defense. B-Mac, you played defense in the league. I mean,
that's impressive.
That is absolutely impressive.
That's impressive, even if you're not playing against those type of quarterbacks or those type of pass catchers. That's an impressive stat in terms of having leads and bringing in the backups and the backups upholding the standard. So that's something to hang their hat on. But I'll say this. I don't know if that stat will remain longer, too much longer, will remain intact any longer, because you better believe Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson, and the rest of those wide receivers, they're that type of unit that probably can break that streak that Ohio State started after losing to the Ducks. But that's an impressive stat, something that I never heard of before in terms of the longevity of not allowing a pass and touchdown.
Here's another one. In that game, that first matchup, there was only 5 total TFLs. So neither defensive line was finding their way in the backfield consistently.
Yeah.
So every offense, both offenses had their way in whatever they wanted to do offensively. Throwing the ball, running the football. Both quarterbacks, as you guys mentioned, went off. The run game went off. Trevion Henderson had that 53-yard run and finished with 87 yards rushing on 10 carries. Junkins didn't have a very good game running the football, but point being, the offensive lines and defensive lines really need to step up the second time around, but not giving up a passing touchdown since October 12th. That's big time, because what we saw tonight for Ohio State against these receivers from Tennessee, they were physical with these guys. They rerouted these guys. They played the ball through the hands consistently. Saved one touchdown we thought was pass interference. We kind of timed his jump perfectly, shielded the guy from making a catch. So we saw a great effort from the secondary tonight, but that has been the course since October. So I'm excited to see, again, which adjustments will be made. But again, 5 total touchdowns, total TFLs combined, something's going to have to give here.
B-Mac, what do we always say? It's tough to beat a team twice.
Yeah.
So the line tells us how close this game is. Vegas is making Ohio State a 1.5-point favorite at a neutral site against Oregon. Is the right team favored? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a little bit shocked. I would have said Oregon -3.5. And when our producers told me it was Ohio State -1.5, I said, oh, I don't know about that.
See, that's the thing. Like, if you look at both teams in totality, the overall season, it's hard to go against the only undefeated team in college football, which is the Oregon Ducks. They took care of all of their business, and they've beaten the aforementioned Ohio State Buckeyes already. But is the odd makers out in Vegas really looking at the game tonight and saying, you know what, Ohio State this was the best we've seen them. The quarterback is playing inspired football. In a neutral setting, right, we think Ohio State, they're a 1.5 favorites over the Ducks. I can see that logic. I can see that reasoning. But me personally, I would have had the Oregon Ducks the favorites, because they've been undefeated. They have the better quarterback in this matchup, right? I would say they have the better coach in this matchup. I would say just the balance of the offense, and I'm not talking about personnel-wise, I'm just talking about what we've seen. The numbers, statistically speaking, they have more balance on their offense as well. The only nod I would give to Ohio State would probably be the defense. Everything else is in favor of Oregon.
Yeah.
I think that should play a part in terms of how they make this line. But I'll say this much. If you disagree and if you think Oregon is the better team, this is a great spot just to take Oregon money line.
Yeah.
Basically,
Agreed.
it's basically a pick 'em. Just take Oregon money line. You'll get more juice instead of taking Oregon getting that 1.5. You might as well just take Oregon money line if you feel like the Ducks are the best team in this matchup.
I mean, this is a virtual pick 'em, right? I mean, a 1.5 line, it's a pick 'em. And so no one's going to really gain an edge. Like, no one's going to be at the press conference and go, oh, we're big underdogs.
No.
Or in Oregon's case, we're big underducks. Wink, wink. Sorry, it's a dad joke. But you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to be like, oh, the Vegas counting us out. Like, that's not going to be a narrative. It's going to be, hey, we're trying to get revenge for that loss that we faced against you in October, and Oregon's going to be like, we're going to try to beat you a second time and prove that we are the most dominant team in college football.
I think there's a lot to unpack there, because it's probably, hey, the last game was a 1-point victory for Oregon. So we just saw this team, Ohio State, last. Let's flip it and give them the 1-point favorite or 1.5-point favorite. But I'm with you guys. I would probably make Oregon the favorite based off, to your point, B-Mac, they hadn't lost. They've beaten everybody. They're the only undefeated team in this postseason, and they have the head-to-head against Ohio State. But I wonder if the odds makers are looking at the the field in Pasadena. We've all been out there. It's not the low-cut grass. It's a speed grass. It's kind of northwestern-ish. You know what I'm saying? It's very inconsistent.
A little bit like how Notre Dame used to.
Exactly, right?
So what you're saying is
natural grass.
It favors Ohio State.
They say it's favoring Ohio State because I think they're trying to stereotype Oregon, saying, well, they can only be Oregon on turf. So maybe and we've seen Ohio State do great things at the Rose Bowl with their passing game, and maybe that's why they are favored. But the wrong team to me is favored in this game. It should be the Oregon Ducks.
Ohio State and Oregon clashing on New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. The winner moves on to the semifinals, getting one step closer to a national championship. The two schools met in the inaugural College Football Playoff National Championship, with Ohio State winning that one. Oregon chasing its first national championship in school history. And again, Ohio State has not allowed a passing touchdown since giving up 2 to Dylan Gabriel back in October. That's 30 straight quarters, and they will meet on January 1st at the Rose Bowl. Coming up, we'll head back out to Columbus. Ryan Day earning some favor with the hometown fans. A big win over Tennessee. We'll hear from the Buckeyes head coach. Plus, we've got a live report. Josh Pate will join us coming up here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by the Home Depot.